Hello, tankers! Let's continue our overview of Fjords. In the first episode, we learned what the best light and heavy tankers usually do on this map. Now, let's talk tank destroyers. Each team will have their own favorite spots. For the western base, it's the area near the house in Sector C4, while the TDs on the right like the southern slope of the biggest mountain in Sector E8. But no one is forced to take these positions, and of course, not all TDs will sit in those nests. Some TDs with good frontal armor can accompany the Allied heavies in their clash with enemy heavy tanks. TDs with medium tank mobility can decide to fight in the center or prevent the enemy from doing the same in this area. Also, the bypass is very popular among TDs on the west base. Makes sense. After driving the enemy out of there, you'll reach a position from which you can safely fire at the part of the central hill, the TD nest, and the road between them. Back to the most popular areas for TDs on Fjords. For the western base, it's the area around a small wooden house in Section C4. From there, you can fire at the top and the sides of the central hill, at the end of the bypass, although you'll need a good scout for that, and at the tanks on the western slope of the biggest mountain. As a rule, targets appear here from time to time over the course of battle. You can also hide here both between shots, and if you remember the 15-meter rule and roll back from the bushes at the required distance, you won't even need to hide. Just remember that the artillery always aims here, so it's not enough to roll back down after being spotted. The forested slope near Sector E8 is popular for TDs coming from the right. In the first seconds of battle, it makes sense to aim at the pass between the mountains. If you're lucky and someone stops there, teach them a lesson by taking away some of their precious HP. Also, one or several enemy tanks might stay there for a long time right in your sights. From here, you can also shoot at almost all of the opposite TD nest area and a small part of the central hilltop. Also, the tanks that break through from the bottom of the map can expose themselves for a short time. So if you're not familiar with this position yet, try it and learn the lines of fire open up there. Now, let's talk medium tanks. We pretty much already outlined all the main starting positions on Fjords. Since medium tanks are versatile, they can successfully play from any of them. It just depends on their specific features. And that's what we see from the starting trajectories of best medium tank battles played. The vehicles with sturdy fronts or thick turrets can go to the South Cape together with heavy tanks. More stealthy medium tanks sometimes nestle in the TD positions, but on Fjords, these positions are so close to the front line that it's even hard for TDs to hide there, let alone the medium tanks. After all, concealment is not normally one of their strongest features. However, there are positions for medium tanks that are not so popular among other vehicle types. From the western base, it's the central hill. You can reach this position just as the enemy heavies turn their sides and rears to it on their way to the southern cape. You can distract and stop some of them, thus reducing the number of guns fighting your teammates. Also, this position provides decent cover. The end of the bypass can be seen from here as well. You can carefully target there in the case someone spots the enemy for you but you're not spotted. The mediums on the eastern base also like fighting on the central hill and below it, because there are plenty of targets. After you've destroyed the immediate threats on this position, you can also fire at the enemy fighting for the end of the bypass and the western mountain slope on the right, and at the TD nest. By the way, if you're left unattended, you can even roll forward to this rock and clear the area just with your presence. Actually, there are two ways of taking this position. The first is quite risky. We've seen it already, and you can see the light tank using it now. And the second way is much safer. The enemy will only be able to see you briefly. Finally, you can occupy the end of the bypass. It's especially enjoyable to play here if the enemy forgot to light up this position. We've already seen a great zone for firing is open up here, from the right at the central hill and from the hill on the left at the entire TD nest. If both the hill and the end of the bypass are taken by the tanks coming from the right, the other team should prepare for the next battle. So never leave this flank when playing from the west. In case you're not alone here and the enemy hasn't taken control of the central hill, you can push here and crush the enemy forces. Otherwise, just stop around the corner. Take control of the central hill and prevent the enemy tanks on the bypass from rushing to your base. Wherever you are on the map, Fjords will always require you to focus on the mini-map and to think one step ahead in order to win. Because medium tanks can easily move to the opposite flank and stop the enemy breakthrough or help teammates to organize their own advance. Finally, we've come to the artillery. What's quite unusual, there's some things to tell regarding SPGs on Fjords. Make note of these two areas. We already mentioned them. From there, narrow but very important lines of fire are open to the main point of heavy tank clashes. You're more than likely to find targets there, slow with a lot of hit points and very important ones. Destroying any of them will significantly contribute to your team's victory. At the same time, many SPGs occupy other positions. On the left flank, you can fire at the area around the end of the bypass. Also, you can help to stop the breakthrough from the south. The artillery from the right base can position themselves here. From here, it's more convenient to fire at the TD nest, and you can also take part in the competition for the central hill and keep the tanks in the area near the bypass entrance on their toes. Let's sum up. Fjords wasn't exactly an easy map to play after the last revamp. Victory on any of the main routes doesn't guarantee a win, and each of these routes can be controlled from several others. This makes players look attentively not only right in front of them, but also check the surrounding areas. You need to know where you can be shot from and where you can fire at. We hope this overview will help you navigate Fjords better. Even the scriptwriter says he's learned something new himself. Good luck out there.